Hey everyone, my name is Randall Fernando, and on behalf of the EQ Young Alumni Board, I bid you a warm welcome to our workshop for today. To begin off with, I'd like to start with the acknowledgement of country. The University of Queensland acknowledges the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we meet, the Turrbal and Yagara people. We pay our respects to their ancestors and their descendants who continue cultural and spiritual connections to country. And we recognize the valuable contributions to Australian and global society. As mentioned earlier, my name is Randall Fernando, and I'm part of the EQ Young Alumni Advisory Board. At the board, we are essentially involved with trying to help boost and improve the connections that we have with other alumni, as well as trying to help improve career skills, which is one of the reasons why we decided to run this event in conjunction with UQ Ventures. And we have a number of exciting events coming up, including there's a last of our financial fitness series on the 3rd of November with Effie Zahos, and also we are having a party with purpose. So that's to help raise much needed money for child mental health research. And it's also going to be a great event. So definitely would recommend for you all to sign up. There are QR codes there, but we'll be showing, if you aren't able to get your phone out quickly, we'll be showing them at the end of our, this workshop as well. So don't worry. I'll now pass it on to Megan with the work to start off the workshop.
Great. Thank you so much, Randall. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday evening or afternoon, depending on where you're joining us. I saw in the poll that we have people joining us from across Australia. We've got people from Taiwan and Vietnam, which is really exciting. I think it's such a great opportunity to be able to connect. I'm also a UQ alumni, so I get to do a bit of both today. I get to connect with other alumni, and I'm here to run a bit of a workshop this evening around how to think like an entrepreneur. So I saw in the poll too, probably about a 50-50 split of some of you who are interested potentially in starting your own business. A few of you are sitting on the fence that you might be interested in starting your own business. So I will definitely try and help with you guys developing some skills and some mindsets that could help you in how to think like an entrepreneur. But first and foremost, let me introduce myself. So my name is Megan Forrest, and I am the Ventures Manager here as part of the UQ Ventures team. And we have the fun job of doing all things entrepreneurship at the university, but also with industry and lovely alumni like yourselves. Today's workshop, I will be trying to make it interactive, give you guys a chance to actually connect, because I think that's super valuable and part of the reason why you're all here today. And hopefully you could all walk away with some really useful skills and tools in your toolkit for you to take back either to your workplaces or potentially with how you want to start your own business. So let's get started without further ado. I always love a little bit of a definition of what is entrepreneurship. So if you look at the Harvard Business School, this is the definition that they have, which is entrepreneurship is a pursuit of opportunity without regard to resources currently controlled. And we like using this definition because we think it really captures the essence of entrepreneurship. But I really want to ask the group, and feel free to put it in the chat. When I say entrepreneur, who do you think of? Any answers? Put them in the chat. Any initial thoughts as to who you think is an entrepreneur? Who comes to mind? I'm sure there's some really... Oh yeah, great. Oh, Mark, straight off the mark. Is there any particular people that you think of as an entrepreneur? Thank you, Mark. You're awesome. There you go. Elon Musk. Ding, ding. We got 1 for 1. Who else? Bill Gates. Nice. Yep. Steve Jobs. Thank you. Let's see if we can get the third one. Who is a really famous social media entrepreneur? Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So those are usually our typical go-to for who is an entrepreneur. And I just want to use these guys as a bit of a basis to talk about some myths around entrepreneurship. I just think it's really important to do some myth busting because there's a lot of perceptions around entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs, particularly when everyone always picks Elon, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark. So here are some of my really quick myth busting. All you need is a good idea to be an entrepreneur. That is a massive myth. It's great to have a good idea, but really what it comes down to is your execution and your ability to take something to market, to actually come through with it and have commitment and dedication to your idea. All entrepreneurs are risk takers. They're the wild kind. They're a little bit crazy, a little bit, unafraid to go jump into the deep end. That's not at all necessarily the truth. If you guys had attended our How to Start a Side Hustle, you would have heard from the panel how there's varying degrees of, a lot of people or entrepreneurs will start their journey as a side hustle and then weigh up quite strategically if they have the funds that they need or they're able to have enough customer attraction to then move into making it their mainstream of income. So not all entrepreneurs are risk takers. Entrepreneurs require an enormous amount of startup cash. This is a common misconception, but you really don't need a lot of cash to start up your own business or start up your own idea. There is a plethora of ways where you can start your idea or bring your idea to fruition without taking lots and lots of cash or resources to do it. And I will talk about that a little bit in the workshop today as well. I am my own boss. This is something that a lot of that we see with our entrepreneurs and startups that we work with at Ventures is that there is a perception that, obviously when you start your own business, you're your own boss. To an extent that is true, but when you're starting your business, something that you really want to do is to attract investment and attract capital so that you can continue on your journey with your particular business. So you do always end up having a team to work with. A team is very important for your success. And secondly, you might have a board or investors that you need to report back to. So it is important to keep that in mind when thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. This is the best one. You're going to be rich. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to be rich. And that's particularly true when you look at how we all think of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and all those guys who are very loaded, let's be honest. But that might not necessarily be the case. It is a very long journey when you start your own business and cash will be really tight. And you won't necessarily roll in it straight away. And you may never be a billionaire or be able to afford your own spaceship. But it's about being realistic about what your goals are if you are starting a business and what makes sense to you. It should be more about your passion rather than necessarily a get rich quick scheme. Entrepreneurs are naturals. This is a debate that I have been involved with a lot in my varying career, is that entrepreneurs are naturals. This is completely untrue. I believe every single one of you who are on the call, I don't think anyone said that they started their own business, but if someone has, please let me know and I'd love to hear your story. But you can actually build the skills and the mindset that is required or which has been mapped out against other entrepreneurs. And it's something that you can, it's almost like a muscle, right? That you can practice and you can get better at it and then build it up over time so that you get better and better at becoming your own startup entrepreneur. So that's with some of my myth busting. And I just wanted to introduce you to a few other entrepreneurs that maybe don't make it into the news all the time. So I'd like to introduce you to Vanessa Murillo. So she is a UQ alumni. She was in the humanities faculty and graduated with a Bachelor of Communications, I believe. And she is now the co-founder of a company called I Am Grounded, which is a social enterprise that actually takes coffee waste and turns them into really delicious chocolate snacks to sell, and profits go back to reducing waste and helping local communities in different countries. So that's one example of someone you might know. Nat Marshall is another entrepreneur. He is currently at UQ, so he's still studying. He recently went through our iLab Accelerator program, which I will talk a little bit more about, because that is a program that all of you are welcome to apply, where we give $10,000 equity-free funding for potential startups who are looking to accelerate their business. But Nat Marshall has a business called Deep Connection, where he basically has created biomed tech to help people have better prosthetics. And then finally, we have our lovely Chief Student Entrepreneur here at UQ, who is Rachel Huan, and she has a startup called PowerSphere, where she has developed mini wind turbines, that can be basically installed on buildings to increase renewable energy and help us transition to more renewable energy sources. So I just wanted to give you those examples, because it isn't always the go-to to think of entrepreneurs who, have a social enterprise, who create impact in their local community, create medical devices for people who need them, or people who create renewable energy solutions or outcomes. And the other point of this is that we've got a UQ alumni, we've also got 2 young entrepreneurs. So it really doesn't matter where you are in your professional journey. If you're passionate about it and you want to go for it, you can totally do it. And there's a lot of support mechanisms available to you. So I want to go back to this question of, are all entrepreneurs naturals? So as I said, I've had many debates with various people around this. The answer is no, entrepreneurs are not naturals. What we try to do at Ventures is build the entrepreneurial mindset and skills. So this is a map, and I'm sure after the session we can share these slides with all of you so you can refer back, so you don't need to feel like you need to remember everything that's on this slide. But this is something that we developed as part of a consortium for a genuine Student Innovation Challenge. We mapped out what it means to have an entrepreneurial mindset. And really what it comes down to is being someone who is opportunity driven. So you look for new opportunities, you can be creative, you have a look at being agile, collaboration, which is about, obviously, do you have self-knowledge? Can you work with others? Do you have empathy? Decisiveness, so how do you use initiative? Can you execute on your ideas? Willing, so that's about, can you set goals? Do you have ambition? Do you have resilience, which is something very big in the entrepreneurial mindset sphere? And then finally, risk-taking. Now, I know I said that that's a myth, but what we talk about when we talk about risk-taking is about having confidence, making sure that you challenge assumptions, don't just take everything to face value, and you have really good reflection skills. That's a bit different from jumping off a cash cliff into an idea or headstrong. So this is what we aim to do in Ventures, and I want to address that a bit today. And basically, in essence, what it means to have an entrepreneurial mindset is that you're able to tolerate ambiguity, you have resilience, you have tenacity, and you have a willingness to take calculated risks, particularly in the world that we're in today, which is full of ambiguity and uncertainty. These are really important skills. It's about having the ability to identify problems and really creatively think about how you solve them, and then really thinking creatively how you utilize resources to create impact. And now, what I will say to all of you, it doesn't matter if you are thinking about starting your own business, having an entrepreneurial mindset will help you in your career. It will help you in your current roles, where you're currently working. And I have found it from my perspective over my career so far that it's really helpful in career transition, which is very topical at the moment with everything that is changing and shifting in the job market, which I'm sure a lot of you would be able to really understand at the moment as well. So I've touched on this a little bit, but like, why is it important to have an entrepreneurial mindset, and why should you care about trying to build this? Basically, being agile in a changing world. Now, this was real before we had a global pandemic, but the global pandemic just kind of highlighted a few more things around the importance of being agile and being a bit flexible in the world we work in. It's about having the skills to be able to be innovative in any situation. So I've already mentioned work, but it could be other things as well. If you volunteer, projects that you do volunteering, it could even be the skills that you need to creatively problem solve a challenge that you're facing at home or a house project. It really is a great set of skills to have. to help you basically in life, to be confident and be confident in your abilities to succeed, whether it is a new career, getting promoted where you are at your current roles, or venturing out on your own and starting your own business. So I wanted to give a bit of that context as to why you should think like an entrepreneur. And one of the elements that I mentioned before is design thinking. Now, I find design thinking is one of the best tools and frameworks that you can have in your toolkit, and is a really good basis for you to start building up your entrepreneurial mindset. So I just wanted to quickly check with the group. Has anyone ever heard of design thinking? You can just say yes or put a thumbs up on your little reaction. Yep, Randall has, great. Yes, Charlotte has, perfect. And have you guys, if those who have said yes, have you used it in your current role? How have you used it? Or have you just heard of it? I think Randall was cheating and said yes because, oh, great, using it in the current role. Perfect. Excellent. All right, Catherine, I might have to make you my go-to today for examples. So I want to go through, we're going to do this very rapidly because obviously this is a shorter workshop, but we will definitely be able to help you build up your skill set in this area. So without further ado, what we'll be doing is at the end of it, I kind of want to help you guys learn the fundamentals of design thinking. What is it? How can you use it for creative problem solving? How can you approach complex problems utilizing it? And then how do you design solutions from a user-centric perspective? That is a really core element of what design thinking is all about. Just some rules of engagement for the workshop tonight. I always like putting these out here. I will be putting you into groups to connect and work together. So when you're in your groups, I do ask that you build on each other's ideas. A good rule for that is to not say but say and. So that's a great idea, and we could do this. Defer judgment, so let everyone share ideas and voice their opinions and defer any judgment around what's being shared. Design thinking is a really fun, no worries, Randall, totally get it. We'll still put you in a group and you can passively listen in, unless your kid would like to also learn design thinking. Design thinking is a really energetic and fun way to interact with others. So it is important to try and stay focused on tasks because you can get distracted relatively easily. And most importantly, enjoy. It's, as I said, a fun process, and the key to it being successful is that you have a bit of fun with it and enjoy. All right, so I am going to put you guys into breakout rooms really quickly. And what I'd like you to do is quickly introduce yourself. So say your name, where are you currently working, where are you joining us from? And then I'd also like you to share a fun fact. But the rule around the fun fact is that no one can use the same topic as the previous person. So for example, if I said, I'm Megan, I work at UQ Ventures, I'm joining from Australia. And I said, okay, fun fact about me is that I box, like I do boxing twice a week. That means no one else can talk about sport. Someone else will have to come up with a new topic to say for their fun fact. So I'll quickly put you into breakout rooms. Make sure you introduce yourselves, and I will bring you back in about 5 minutes. And yeah, 5 breakout rooms. All right, off you go. You should get a little invitation, say join, please join. All right, everyone should be joining us back in the main room again. Hopefully you got to meet some new people. I mean, I'd be very impressed if you all knew each other. That would be extremely impressive. So let's get into it and design thinking. So this is a framework that we use at UQ Ventures. Obviously, there's a lot of different frameworks that are out there. Most refer to the Stanford methodology, but I want to talk about our double innovation diamond that we use. So basically, there are 4 key steps that we go through in design thinking. One being discover, one's define, develop, and then deliver. Now, the idea of this framework is that, and what design thinking allows you to do, is that you will do both divergent and convergent thinking throughout the process. So divergent obviously is talking about coming up with lots and lots of different ideas or potential problems that you're trying to solve. And then convergent is about really refining and picking those really ideal scenarios to move forward with, to come up with a particular problem. And then you move into divergent thinking again as to identifying what are some solutions. You come up with lots and lots of different ideas. And then once again, you converge to come up with the best idea to move forward with. So really what that first diamond that we talk about is about customer discovery or user discovery as to what is a problem that is facing, whether it's a client that you're working with or your teams that you work with, and then really defining that and refining it. And then finally, it's getting into solution design and pitching. But we'll go through each of these phases together so you can get a better understanding. Now, really what's at the center of design thinking is about human-centered design. So that's really talking about making sure that when you are coming up with ideas or potential solutions to a project or a problem, or coming up with ideas for a business, is to ask these three questions. What is the feasibility of your particular solution? So do you have the tech required? Then the viability, so does the business model make sense? And then finally, is it desirable by the humans that use it? So you're really looking for that sweet spot in the middle of those three circles. That is where you want your solution to land. And these are the principles that we always refer back to when we're doing design thinking. Because if you do not put the human at the center of what you're doing, it doesn't matter what it is. It may seem like it's not relevant sometimes, and people do fall into that trap. But when you really identify the human at the center of it, you really get some great outcomes. And it means that you're actually delivering something that is needed by populations or user groups. So this is a bit of the journey, and this is what we'll be working on together in a bit of a rapid design thinking session. So stage one is discovery. So this is about identifying a problem that you want to address, a problem that you might be facing. So the way that I like doing this in a really quick and condensed setting is to talk about creating a problem statement. Now, a problem statement is basically being able to have a really, really succinct and easy to understand sentence that clearly identifies a problem that you're trying to solve. And it addresses three key things. First is, who is the user or the human that is experiencing the problem? What do they need? And then why do they need it? So to give a bit of an example, this is something that I've worked on with students around the Sustainable Development Goals. So you could come up with something that says Australians who are environmentally conscious need a way to better understand their carbon footprint when buying products, as products in store don't display information, because it will help them make more conscious decisions in purchasing. So it's a really great way to break it down. So what I would like you guys to do is in your groups is to come up with a problem statement that will form the basis for the activities for the rest of the workshop. Now you can pick any problem that you would like. It could be something maybe one of you in the group would like to nominate a particular issue that you're currently facing in your workplace, or it could be something like a global challenge that you think needs addressing. So is there anything around the environment or education or social justice that you think needs to be solved? It can, or it could just be, I don't know, a new backpack. Backpacks are terrible or something like that. You can definitely pick something that's very simple like that as well. So I'm going to give you about 8 minutes to work in your group to identify a potential problem to work on. And I do have the lovely board members online as well who have, I'm sure you've already said hi in the various groups. They'll be able to just support as well and provide any feedback, and they can refer back to me as well if you have any questions. But I'm going to give you 8 minutes to come up with a problem statement of your choice. Off you go. I'm going to open the rooms again. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully, I saw everyone used all the time in the last minute, which is good. So I would love to hear some of the problem statements that you came up with. So would someone be happy to share, maybe unmute and say what their problem statement was?
Megan, is it okay if I?
Yeah, for sure. Go,
Yes,
Randall.
we had a number of really cool ones. So one of
Oh,
the ones
great.
that Mark suggested was looking at early breast cancer detection. So,
Oh,
I suppose the users would be women who need to be able to get checked,
yep.
in an earlier time, because obviously if there's like a simple way of being able to do that detection early, it really increases the chance of survival. So
Yep.
yeah, I thought that was a really cool idea. For myself, I
Yeah.
had an idea which was, how there was the Nursing Royal Commission.
Yep.
So they were talking about patient staff ratios being one of the main contributing factors to poor quality of care. So I was
Yep. Yep.
thinking, as a member of the public, I would like a quick and easy portal to be able to see nursing staff ratios. So that
Mm-hmm.
way we'd be able, members of the public would be able to make an informed choice when it came to their healthcare.
Yeah, great. Perfect. Those are fantastic problem statements. Thank you. And thank you, Mark. I saw you said it in the chat. That was awesome too. Great. Thank you, team. I think it's team Randall, Mark, and Tara. You got the two Randalls somehow. That was just the universe saying that Randall's meant to be together. Anyone else? One of the other teams? Maybe the Catherine, Lachlan, Ziggy?
Yeah, I'll be happy to share our side. So we thought of an idea on the motorway every morning. Look on the left-hand side, and well, I do anyway. And I kind of have to lean over to make sure there's no one next to me. So I thought, why not try and design something that was cheap and affordable in order to be able to detect if there's someone next to you, some kind of radio or blind spot detector that's cheap and affordable and easy to install in a car.
Yeah, cool. Nice. So the users would be frustrated motorists?
Yeah. So the users probably would be frustrated motorists, just want something convenient, easy to use without having to lean over your neck and have a look next to you, make sure that someone's there. You can just simply look at the mirror and you either get a green signal or a red signal that someone's here.
Yep, I drive home on Coronation Drive. If anyone is familiar with Coro Drive, having studied at UQ, some of you would probably be a bit familiar with Coro Drive. I can understand that. Yeah, great. I see Manish has put your hand up, maybe?
Yeah, Megan, I was not
great.
sure. So, yeah. So thank you. I would like to put something for my idea goes to leverage small and medium-sized businesses with the IT products. So I personally feel, being on the IT side for almost a decade, that the good innovations made in IT, like 10 years back, we don't have Android. It's invented sometime in 2010 and iPhone in 2007. So it plays a continuously significant amount on the way we as a human interact. But I feel that small businesses like a small bakery shop or a grocery store, those people are still missing to leverage on these ideas because their core business or essence is to deal with their core area of expertise. They don't have enough fund or the technology available to leverage on those things. So that's something I feel it may be good. Still, we know day in, day out, Zoom is the best example. We are virtually connected. A segment is very much benefited for this, but there is a large amount or a fraction of segment who cannot leverage because of certain limitations.
Yeah, no, great, perfect. So I like that because we've got a bit of a different user too. So you've identified SMEs or small medium enterprises who need a way to better utilize IT, really, and get up to date. No, that's awesome. So thank you, everyone. That's fantastic. So what I'd like you to do is take those problem statements and keep them in your mind, because they are going to be the foundation for the rest of the activities. So really we're into stage 2. So once you've identified a problem, and you probably would have found in your groups that you probably came up with a lot of different problems, and then you refined it to a potential one problem statement. And now we move into defining, and what this really talks about is making sure that you understand the user that you're trying to address the problem for. So there's different ways that you can do that. So you can do user interviews. That's probably the most effective way. So for those problem statements that you guys identified. So women who are in the age bracket who need to keep up to date with their breast screening, small to medium enterprises, and I see Scarlett shared one as well. So parents in Vietnam. Oh, yeah, great. Excellent. Oh, I love this. We've got education, we've got technology, we've got angry motorists, we have everything in this. So user interviews are a great way to really define your problem. Empathy mapping, which is what we're going to do together. And then once you've done and you understand your user and what their perspective is, it's really important to go back to your problem statement and redefine or change it. Perhaps the real issue that they're facing isn't what you initially assumed. It might actually be another reason why that particular situation is occurring. So what I'd like to do is get you guys to work in your team to draw up this empathy map. So if I can get someone or all of you to quickly just basically draw an X and then the box underneath and write think and feel, what do they say and do, what do they see, and then frustrations and goals. Because this is what we use as a basis for an empathy map. And I'm just providing an example that a student team did from another university where they basically, the idea is that you think about your user and you go, okay, so with the issue you've identified, what do they say and do? So this particular student was talking about how young women felt unsafe traveling alone overseas. So they talk about how young women, will message their parents to let them know they're okay, tell their loved ones where they're traveling to, share their locations and their itinerary. That's what they say and what they do. If you go to the left-hand side, what do they see? So when they're traveling, they see their belongings, they see their surroundings, nearby exits if they're a little bit worried about their safety. And then what do they think and feel? So I feel unsafe if I'm traveling to new places by myself. I need to look aware and alert. I can't just be, carefree while I'm going around traveling. And then by going through that empathy map, you're actually able to identify key frustrations and maybe what their goals are as a user. This really helps you have a bit more of a perspective. And then it usually, just to quickly give you an idea, and maybe some of the workplaces you work in create customer personas or personas of the user that you're identifying, and you use them as a bit of an anchor to return to. So when you're trying to go through this process, you actually know who you're trying to address the problem for. So I'm going to get you guys in your group to think about your user that you've identified as part of your problem and really quickly map out an empathy map, talking about what do they think and feel, what do they say and do, and what do they see when they're in the realm of the problem that you're addressing. And we're not coming up with ideas yet, it's just thinking about what the user feels. So I will open the breakout rooms again, and I will give you another 8 minutes to do this activity. So it will be speedy, but you'll be fine. All right, we should all be back. So hopefully you found that useful. Obviously, you probably need a little bit more time to do in-depth user empathy mapping, but you get a feel for what it can do. So going through the design thinking process, it's so important that when you do these exercises like empathy mapping, and again, this could be a project that you work on in your workplaces or in your businesses, that you go back and you define and reframe the problem statement that you had. So you can have a think about that individually at the moment. Would you change your problem statement based on what you've come up with as a group as to what your user thinks and feels and what are their frustrations in the particular problem? So to go, now that you've got, you've really refined your problem statement, the next stage is developing, which is like a really fun stage for design thinking, which is where you get to do lots of ideation and brainstorming. I'm sure many of you, I would suspect, have come across brainstorming. And that is exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to do it really rapidly because I like doing it quick. So just to reiterate where we are in the design thinking process, we've gone through that convergent thinking for your problem, and now we're about to go back out into our divergent thinking when coming up with potential solutions to our problems. So brainstorming, feel free when we share the slides after the session today, feel free to use this. I used to have a poster in one of my old team rooms where we just had this generally for any of our ideas. You'll see the top row is pretty similar to what I showed earlier, but some additional ones is make sure you're visual when you're brainstorming. It's always great to draw and not to get stuck on words or what is the right word to describe what you're trying to do. When you get into a group setting, make sure you're having one conversation at a time. Make sure you go for quantity, go for lots of ideas when you're trying to identify potential solutions. And don't be afraid to go for wild ideas. I genuinely find that some of the craziest ideas that people come up with for potential solutions actually end up being incorporated in the final solution that they pitch. So those are some additional just rules of engagement for the brainstorming. But we're going to do an activity called the Crazy Eights. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with the Crazy Eights, but basically you grab a piece of paper, fold it into 8 squares, and then you get 1 minute per box or per square to sketch out a solution to your problem. So that is exactly what I want you guys to do. Now I'm going to keep you as individuals at the moment. The idea is that you brainstorm alone. I am conscious of time, so I'm actually just going to get you guys to do 4 ideas. So I'm going to give you 4 minutes to come up with 4 different ideas on how you could address the problem that you have identified. So I'm basically going to start now. Just grab a piece of paper in front of you, or you can quickly type up notes if you'd like. But 4 ideas in 4 minutes. And I'm going to put on a really annoying alarm because that's just the kind of person that I am. And I am going to get you to start coming up with your first idea now. And I'll put on some jazzy tunes for you to create against. That is your first idea. On to your second idea. All right, on to idea number 3. Hopefully none of you are getting stuck yet because we're only on idea number 3, but if you are, feel free to go for crazy ideas. final one. That is it. I am going to stop you there. So hopefully you've come up with 4 different ideas each on how you could address the problem you identified. I'm going to quickly put you into your breakout rooms, and I want you to pick one idea to share with your group, and then I'll bring you back in to start wrapping up some other strategies for you guys. So I'll open the rooms again, pick one idea to share with your group, and share it quickly. So you're only going to have a minute each roughly, and I'll bring you back in about 3 minutes. All right, welcome back everyone. I'm sure I've put your communication skills to the test, being able to share ideas really quickly. Feel free to share some of your ideas in the chat. I'd love to hear some of the ideas that you came up with. Just to let you know what a strategy is and how you would progress some of those ideas if you guys are working in a team, or maybe you have potentially come up with some solutions that you'd like to take forward to start a business together. Just saying. I would recommend that you go through those ideas and try and identify common themes that you can pull together. Perhaps you can do little combinations of the ideas that you guys came up with together. But at the end of the day, what the aim is that you pick one idea to move forward with, and revisiting the idea that we need to make sure that we're right in that sweet spot, right? That's a good filter for picking an idea. Is the solution that we're suggesting, is it viable, is it feasible, and is it desirable? And that gives you a really good indication of which ideas that you would like to move forward with. So once you've come up with your one idea to move forward with, we get to the delivery stage. So this is about prototyping. How do you storyboard it? How do you get something up and running really quickly with minimal cash? And then how do you pitch something really effectively? So, well, obviously we're not in a room together, and COVID has made it a bit hard for me to do some of my prototyping workshop activities. Usually we bring out Lego is a really good way for prototyping. But some tips around if you would like to prototype your idea, you have to really consider some of the following. So what do you want to test? What do you want to learn about the user experience when you're testing it? So coming back to that user, how much time and how much resources do you have to make a prototype, and how are you going to get feedback on your prototype, or how are you going to capture what is being said about the product or service that you're testing to solve your particular problem. So here's just some ideas for you guys on how to do some really cost-effective prototyping of solutions. So one recommendation is if it has to do with customer experience, which I know a few of the problem statements were relating to. Storyboards are a really great way to quickly prototype. So you sit there and you draw out the journey of a user. And another great way is to do role playing. So you take on the persona of the user and you talk through the customer experience as if you were actually using your product. Using your particular customer experience. The next one for product and services, really simple things like creating a product design out of paper. As you can see in the image there, that is paper that has been used to design a new backpack. You can use Lego, you can use any kind of tactile, cheap resources around just to quickly test if it's hitting the right mark. And then finally, if you're trying to prototype a more of a business model or a process, you can use things like a business model canvas, which is a resource I'm happy to share. I find it super useful in the work that we do. You can use Kanban boards as well to prototype. So all of these either free or extremely cheap to go ahead and prototype. A really good example is Google Glasses, and we can share the video. So this is just a great story because it took them a few hours to prototype their very first Google Glasses that they wanted to test. They basically ran around the office and found a coat hanger, a hairband, and a few things lying around to test whether or not Google Glasses was going to be a concept that they should take on. And then they just kept iterating, and you'll see in the image there, kept building on the idea that they came up with, or the prototype that they came up with, to come up with a final solution. So those are just some initial ideas for you guys if you are interested in starting your own adventure. Prototyping, and when you're trying to come up with product design or customer experience design, don't think it has to be a really expensive tech investment or really expensive manufacturing cost. You can do a very simple prototype to get that user feedback and get that buy-in from potential customers going, yes, this is what we need. If you could get to the point of having a real product out on market, that would be perfect for us. So it is important to keep that in mind and think creatively about those resources that you have and that you have access to. And I mean, who wants to spend lots of money on an idea that potentially might not work or be what the users need? So those are some initial ideas for prototyping. And then the final stage is always communicating your idea or pitching your potential service, product to your audience. So this is another really useful resource which I will share, which is a storytelling canvas, which helps you really identify your user, what is the problem you're addressing, who's the audience that you're trying to, it might be investors, it might be users, potential users. And this is just a really good format to help you identify the great way to tell a compelling story. And this is also very useful for project pitching. I've used this in pitching projects internally for us, but I've used it in varying other industries. I've worked in trade and I've worked in digital badges and all sorts of different areas, and I've always found the startup and entrepreneurial way of pitching really interesting and useful for getting your message across. So I'll share this as well, but a great way to pitch your potential ideas. That is the design thinking process. This has been a very rapid going through. Design thinking is a great way to just, you can do it over an hour, you can do it over half a day, a week, a year. So I hope that you've been able to take a few things away from that. But I do know that the team here have a lovely little survey that would like to know what you think. And then I'm going to wrap up with some final thoughts and quickly connect with you all on your ideas. So we'll take just a few minutes to do that post-event questionnaire. All right, thank you all for that questionnaire. So just to do a bit of workshop wrap up. So as mentioned, hopefully you've been able to take away a few things about the design thinking framework. I know we had a few people who are very familiar with design thinking. What I would encourage you to do, circling back on how to think like an entrepreneur, keep building that toolkit and that mindset and the different skills that are associated and what I mapped out. I will share some slides afterwards with the team so that you can revisit, and it will also include some links to additional resources and templates that you guys are more than welcome to use. But thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? I will share some information about the iLab accelerator program, which was that $10,000 equity-free funding program that we have at Ventures, because as UQ alumni, you actually have access to all of our programs at Ventures. So feel free to take advantage of that. But I believe, am I handing over to Randall?
Yeah, so I just wanted to thank everyone for being so attentive and coming to our workshop today. before we leave, I just want to make mention of there are 2 upcoming events coming soon. I think, Megan, is it possible to go back to the second slide with the 2 upcoming events so that we can give people time to be able to register if they would like. The first event that we have is there's a financial fitness event. So that's happening on the 3rd of November. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be run by Effie Zahos. So she's from Money Magazine, and she's been on I think an editor at large at CanStar, and she's been on like the Today Show, and she's amazing. So definitely recommend you all sign up to that. It's free. And also with the Party with a Purpose, it's going to be a really awesome event, raising money for children's mental health research, and there's going to be plenty of food and drink, and yeah, it's definitely something that I definitely recommend you all sign up to. But thank you all so much for coming and being so attentive.